Hey folks, and welcome to the latest video in the Rhapsody Power Pack series. I'm Andy Lapping, and can you believe that this is the 50th video in this series?
Yay!
Well, since it is, I thought it deserved something a little bit special. And so in this video, I'll show you how to generate a navigable HTML report of your model or any part of it. Here, I'm looking at one of the sample models from the Rhapsody installation, the distiller. Now I can run the HTML generator on any model element. That might be the entire project, a package, or a specific element. I'll start by running it on just this use case diagram. Now if you're using Rhapsody 9, there's the usual right-click menu, but since I'm using version 10, there is a much more convenient toolbar button. That HTML report is generated into a folder, which of course you can configure, and it's automatically opened. And as usual, you can choose to open it inside or outside Rhapsody. Once generated, the report is entirely self-contained and does not need to have Rhapsody available, unless of course you want to navigate back into Rhapsody from the report. Every details page has this Locate in Rhapsody button. So if you want to host this content on your own web server, you can do that, or you can access it using just the generated files directly in the file system. Now, of course, you can use this output as a model report, but that's not actually the main use case. Instead, it's about providing a really powerful way to navigate the model. Let's start with that diagram. We have some basic information such as name, owner, and description, and Rhapsody RTF descriptions are converted into HTML for the report. At the bottom, we have a list of all the elements references. We have a complexity metric based on the number of elements and connections found on the diagram, the details of which are captured on a separate tab. Now, metrics, by the way, are optional. They have to be switched on. I've already done that for this package. Now, everything in this report is clickable. For example, if I click this use case, then I'm taken to the HTML page for that element. Now that also includes diagrams which have image maps. For example, if I click the operator actor on the reported diagram, then I can see the details for that model element. Now I only see basic details of these other elements because they're not in my starting scope, which was a single model element, the diagram. But every page has a Locate in Rhapsody button to find that element in the model browser. Let's run that helper again. This time we'll do it from the use cases package. Now the report opens up in the same tab in Rhapsody, so we don't get a new tab each time we generate. That keeps the interface less cluttered. Now we have more elements in scope. We have a tree, and we can easily expand and collapse that tree. And just like Rhapsody, you can have the tree categorized or you can have it flat. Diagrams are automatically collected onto a Diagrams tab, making them easy to locate, and any element in scope that has metrics is listed on a Metrics tab, grouped by their complexity. Let's open that use case diagram again, and once again I'll click the actor on the diagram. But now that model element is in scope, the report includes many more details, for example, its references and its nested elements. Now the details on each page of the report depends on the type of model element being reported. For example, let's run a quick report on this value types package. If I expand that tree and I select one of the value types, let's say, there I can see it's a language type, I can see its declaration, I can see its tags and their current values, and in references I can see everywhere it's used, all of which are clickable links. If I click the applied stereotype link, I can see that's a stereotype in SysML, which is a new term applicable to type, and it has these locally overridden properties. And of course, at any time, I can navigate back into Rhapsody. But the real power of this tool is that you can customize it. You can add your own tabs, either as a user directly in the model, or as a profile designer. If you have your own custom profiles, those can provide customization options as well. That's all done, of course, through properties, which can be set at package or project level, so you can have a completely different style of report for each package if that's what you want. Let's set some properties on the use cases package. Now we'll find them all here on the reporting tab of the PowerPack properties perspective. First, I can add my own tabs to the main toolbar by providing a comma-separated list of either new terms or base terms. For example, let's add actor and event. Then we can generate the report again. That's going to take a couple of seconds. Now, actors and events are collected onto their own tabs along the main bar. There is a second area we can add tabs, the custom tab, which only appears if it has content. So let's give it some. Let's add, let's say, actor and use case to that one. Again, we can generate the report. Again, that's going to take a few seconds. And once that's completed, we now have a custom tab. And on that tab are actors and use cases organized into subtabs. Now, the choice of subtabs or collated lists are all configurable again in the properties. Now for table and matrix views. Here in this package, I've added some table views like this one, which shows actors and use cases, and this one, which is a traceability matrix for requirements. Let's close both of those, and then let's generate a report on that package. Now, as before, the reporter will include basic details of any out-of-scope elements. First of all, the table view, that's rendered so we can see the content as well as the other details like layout and scope. And the same goes for the matrix, which is captured on a separate tab. Now, rendering of tables and matrix views have to be switched on. Rhapsody renders that content and the reporter just beautifies it and displays it. So that means it will work with tables that use things like context patterns or have custom Java embedded into them. But Rhapsody does need to open the table views to do that, which it does silently in Rhapsody 10, in Rhapsody 9, not so silently. Matrix views have a special option. If I set the include matrix content property to dynamic, then instead of the basic HTML rendering Rhapsody provides, the reporter generates its own, allowing for a much richer experience. Let's generate a report just for that single matrix view. Now, by default, the generated matrix orients the header cells vertically and only displays the icon, not the text in the cell. Also, by default, the ordering of the rows and the columns is the same as Rhapsody's matrix views, which is usually the order in which the model elements were created. All of that is configurable by properties. Everything here is clickable. The scope elements, the column elements, the row elements, and of course the cells. Now, by default, this is the only page that isn't self-contained. That is, the navigation links here go straight to Rhapsody. That is by design, so we don't shift focus away from the matrix. But it's also an option. If you want these links to be internal navigation links, keeping the report entirely self-contained, then you can have that. The matrix can be dynamically filtered by providing regular expressions for the columns, rows, or cells. For example, let's filter the row using $, which ends with ER. And then let's filter the columns with starts with B or D. Now, those things can also be provided as pre-filters, again using properties. Now, one even more powerful option we can use is to change the matrix from being a reporter to an editor. Let's switch that option on by setting the allow editing property to true. And then we need to generate another report. Now we have an additional option, the mode. In create mode, clicking an empty cell creates a new link. In delete mode, clicking any non-empty cell deletes that link. Now, if you have previously generated a report for a model element, then you don't need to generate it again. For example, I generated one for the entire project earlier, and I can use PowerPack, Reporting Tools, Open Generated HTML to reopen it. One last thing. Rhapsody only allows its matrix views to be scoped by package, which makes them less useful for elements like attributes, operations, and so on. For example, here in this model, we have matrix views that show satisfaction links between state chart transitions and requirements. If I open any of these in Rhapsody, because the scope is package level, I'll see all of the state transitions from all of the classifiers in that package. And since it displays the name of the transition, it's pretty useless. Here in the Features view, there are two more PowerPack properties that we can use to override that scope down to classifier level. Now, both of these are comma-separated lists of named actors, use cases, or classes. You can see I've set the row property here to just one class, LED. If I generate a report now for that matrix view, then not only do I get more readable names for the transitions, I'm using from and to, but the matrix itself is also scoped down to just the LED class, making it much more useful. Well, that's it for this video. Now, this may be the 50th episode in the series, but we are far from done yet, so please do subscribe if you want to be notified as new videos get published. But for now, thanks for watching.